Well, comic books play a big part in most people's lives growing up.
In Japan, it's a part of their culture. And CI Living storyteller Sarah Lehman is here. Sarah, one local man is hoping to bring some of that culture right here.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So Japanese comics or graphic novels are called manga, and they date back to the 12th century. So the history there is already super rich. Now, this guy wants to add to that history. Check it out.
こちらはあずきという今じゃんけんについて漫画を書いていますが、
This is Kofi.
なんでしょうか。あずきちゃんは試合ごとにいつもチョキだけを。
It might not sound like it, but he's from Champaign, and walking to the university YMCA, his art is covering the walls.
Yeah, so this is the University YMCA. It's a community center that's connected with the university, and this is called Azuki.
But it's not just any art.
So I draw manga, which is the Japanese form of comics. I've studied manga in Japan.
The first chapter of his manga is what you'll find behind the doors of the Y.
And I'm currently working on a series about a little black girl who's a rock, paper, scissors champion.
And this isn't just something you can pick up one day and be an expert. No, Kofi has been practicing and mastering this for years.
I really like anime. I grew up watching anime since I was a little kid. Started with Dragon Ball Z, and then I was like 8 years old, and I was like, that's what I want to do. So I've just been drawing in my room. I taught myself how to draw, but I was a dropout for a very long time, so I had to learn by myself. I didn't take my first art courses until I was 28 years old. I'm 32 now, so I'm mostly self-taught. So it was really difficult, painstaking process. Manga has some very specific standards, which we just don't have access to that kind of education here or in English. So I had to go there. I studied abroad in Japan a couple times. The first time I just quit my job and flew myself there, and I just met some professionals who have just sort of been mentoring me for the past 5 years.
From there, he learned Japanese and learned the storytelling of manga. He then started writing his own. Like he said, his manga is a story about a little black girl who's a rock, paper, scissors champ. He says he got the idea from personal experience.
It's actually not that complicated. I play rock, paper, so like, you know, everybody plays rock, paper, scissors. So it's actually traditionally a Japanese game. I didn't know that until after I made this. But basically, it's probability and it's just chance. And I don't think there's sort of like a sort of tactic that you can create that will win. So I decided at some point in my early 20s, I'm just gonna play scissors every time. And that's what my character does. So it's like a really wacky, it's like an action comedy. She plays scissors every time, but she always wins in these bizarre ways against like these really tough male characters. So it just kind of came to me. I was like, what if I turn that into a story?
It's a fun story about a silly game, but it's also important in showing representation in the Japanese comics.
You know, I think representation is important. There's a lot of black people that love anime and manga, and I sort of want to be a part of the community that creates representation, because I think instead of, you know, you can't really demand Japanese creators to create representation of a different race. I think that's my responsibility. So I learned Japanese, went to Japan, learned manga, and I'm going to make manga with black characters.
And on top of bringing different faces into manga, he wants to even go one step further and teach the art where it's never been taught before. I
sort of found a way to carve a path through academia by teaching, because you can't learn manga in the United States anywhere, actually. So I want to be the first manga professor in the U.S. at least. That's my goal. One of the big barriers that I see between sort of U.S.-Japan exchange and all the people are, I mean, anime is big all around the world, and manga is really big, and there's a lot of people want to do it. There's a language barrier. So it's like, you got to study Japanese. I've been studying it for, I mean, on and off for a long time, but overall, like 6 or 7 years now. So I've been able to do it because of my command of the language.
His ultimate goal? He wants to take what he knows and teach others.
I like to teach free workshops, because I think knowledge doesn't really mean anything if it can't be shared.
So this weekend, he's actually hosting a workshop at the University YMCA. He's going to be teaching people about manga and how to draw and the storytelling structure, all of that. And you can still see his exhibit through October at the Y there. We'll have all those details over on our website.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
It's really cool, too, even if you're not into, like, anime or manga, like, just being able to see, because he translates it, he writes it in Japanese and then translates it into English.
Wow.
So just being able to see that, too, is, like, really neat.
Very cool.
Check it out.
Well, thanks, Sarah.